This is a short guide to volunteering for beginners. I'm Corinza Brands and I'm the Volunteering and Mentoring Administrator within Careers Central.
And I'm Galit Hart and I'm a careers advisor in Careers Central.
This is just to give you some tips and the essentials to get started with volunteering and give you a bit more idea about the wide variety of opportunities out there. So what is volunteering? So it's very much an unpaid activity where you usually help a charity or a voluntary public sector organisation. Um, it isn't a paid activity, so you shouldn't be getting any kind of payment or reward or stipend. You usually can get out-of-pocket expenses to help you with doing this, but if it's not these, it could be classed as work and therefore subject to national minimum wage and employer rights. You don't have a contract of employment when you volunteer. So you might have a volunteer agreement and an expectation to do a certain amount of volunteering, for example, signing up to shifts once a week or every so often. But you don't take the place of an employee. You're very much enhancing what an organisation can do and supporting the activities that they do there. As I mentioned, there might be out-of-pocket expenses to cover things like travel or something you might need to buy as a part of that role. And volunteering can be both formal and informal. So it might be with an organisation such as a charity, registered non-profit organisation. That's what we consider more formal volunteering, but then also informal volunteering. So you might already be doing it. There might be, for example, things with mutual aid groups and societies that have been set up, particularly over the pandemic. And you might be involved with clubs and societies and groups and doing volunteering already. If you're an international student, you do need to think about what your visa will allow you to do. So in terms of volunteering or voluntary work and whether those hours count towards what you're allowed to do on your visa. So what does volunteering involve? So it's a whole range of different activities and roles. There's so many different things out there. Some of the things that you might see are, for example, marketing, communication type roles, web-based activity, administration, research and data analysis. Also directly with service users. So for example, mentoring, befriending, tutoring activities, helping to run centres and things like that. There's also opportunities within kind of conservation and heritage sector, one-off activities such as with events and festivals, and within arts and culture as well. So there's a whole range of things out there. There's also activities, for example, within charity shops, and some organisations can develop roles specifically with individuals. In terms of the time that you give for volunteering, it is really very going to depend on the roles and what the organisation are looking for. So it might be a one-off ad hoc or casual activity, but then there are also longer term, more regular volunteering opportunities where you do something, for example, once a week, perhaps for a few hours, once a fortnight, once a month, or something like that. Some organisations have more flexibility around the opportunities that they could offer. Some you might be doing activities to like a shift pattern or a rota to try and help that service operate. It might be also, for example, on-campus activities. So there are societies, you might already be doing activities with societies within schools, clubs, specific roles, for example, the student union with their buddy SU roles. As well as off-campus opportunities, as we've mentioned already, with charities and non-profit organisations. There could be community-based roles, but also there's been a real growth in remote and virtual-based opportunities. So if that's something that works for you and could help you to volunteer, there are definitely lots more of those kind of roles out there, and particularly during the pandemic, and there's likely to continue.
So here we're just thinking about why volunteer? Why do people want to volunteer? So we've put together our top 5 reasons. So first, it can really help people to develop confidence, and that's especially important after the pandemic. Lots of students, lots of graduates haven't had the chance to get experience beforehand, and there were only limited opportunities available. So that really has added up to sort of lack of opportunities to sort of build up some confidence in the last couple of years. And it's really important to recognize that when you go out there and you do volunteer, it might feel a bit strange or a little bit daunting at first, but those feelings are completely normal. And you stick with it, these things tend to go away because you get used to the environment, and it's just because it's something a little bit new. Thinking about developing new skills is a really good reason to volunteer. Getting into new environments and doing new things really just gives you the chance to pick up new skills you wouldn't have had the chance to develop before. For example, things like Excel skills, if your role offers some administration or research, and communication with members of the public if you're volunteering in a museum or a stately home or something like that. So loads of opportunities to just pick up some different skills, and you just don't know what you might be really good at until you try sometimes. Trying something new and different is a really good reason to volunteer, because everyone can only really imagine themselves being kind of what they know about, and seeing new environments and different types of workplaces, it really allows you to evaluate what you like, what you don't like, which is equally as important, and expands your horizon and opens up new options to you. You might find you've got skills or preferences you really weren't aware of before because you just never had the chance to try it, you weren't exposed to it. And it's also really good to test the water if you don't know if you might like something or if you're not sure. Also, it looks really good to employers. It is something that employers really want to see. They like people who do things. They want to see that you've made the effort and that you're proactive, and the experience counts as something, even if it's not completely related to the job you're applying for, to a grad job. You can still pick up, as we've said, lots of skills from it, and it is still something that employers can see you've gone out there and done that, and it tells them a little bit about you, and it's something that can make you stand out a bit as well. We kind of want to put rest to the myth that lots of people believe that only the paid work is really important to employers and only the work in that field, but there are employers who can see the value of volunteering as well. And then lastly, it doesn't have to be anything to do with your course. You might like studying what you're studying, but you might want to see yourself working in something else, or you might want to just try something else. And you can, indulge your other interests as well. So volunteering can let you explore interests, or just spending time doing things that you actually enjoy. And, worth bearing in mind that many people don't go on to do grad jobs that are actually related to their degree. So volunteering is a way of widening that out as well. So then we'll move on to thinking about some people's real life experiences of volunteering. And here are two former UEA students, two alumni, who both volunteered while they were at UEA, and are really short clips of what they got from that experience, what it was like and what they got from it.
So I volunteered to write and edit for Concrete, the newspaper, in the science and technology section. It was just really beneficial to get an insight into the working world of how something like that works in what I want to do later on. I did also search for any opportunities like volunteering to write online. So I wrote for the time it was called the online student, I think. And I wrote various articles as well. They weren't even directly related to science and technology. They were like travel articles, etc. I did all of that as well voluntarily, and that was also really looked upon very favourably. I even contributed to several articles for a friend's app that he had created about, it's called Biomedical News, which released articles every week. And just to be able to talk about that in the interview, it shows I was very proactive in searching for opportunities that would allow me to have transferable skills in a job that I was looking for later.
So I had the opportunity to volunteer as a community panel member within Norfolk Youth Vending Team, and it was really flexible. So obviously I had responsibilities outside of the degree because I had two young children, but actually the ask from Norfolk Youth Vending Team was as and when, so it was always during the day, so when the children were in school or in nursery, and it was probably only an hour at a time. So it was something I was able to do as and when, and I was able to complement my studies in respect of that. What I notice now from employers, but also as someone who employs myself, is that it pops out when you see that somebody has volunteered. It sees that they've got a sense of community, giving back. And I think it's a really attractive to any future employer to see that somebody has given up their time.
Now you've understood a little bit about volunteering, what some good reasons to volunteer, heard some people's experiences, you might be thinking, what are your next steps? So really it's good to think about what you want. What types of skills do you want to develop? What types of activities, roles interest you? Maybe you want experience in a particular sector or a specific organization to find out what it's like. And also that sort of very pragmatic, what's practical, what's realistic for you, what time commitment have you got, what location, traveling, that kind of thing. So really good to sort of put some time to thinking about what you want. You can talk these things through. You can talk it through with Corenza, who's our volunteering administrator, or you can speak to a careers advisor. The other thing that's worth thinking about is any events, or when you come into contact with any voluntary organisations, or if you get in touch with them, speak to them, ask them questions. What do you want to know? I'll show you a slide with a couple of questions and just to give you ideas of the types of things you can ask. But really it is about what do you want to know? What are sensible things that actually I might want to know to make a decision here? And then we'd really encourage you to explore opportunities. So obviously you can look at My Career Central. They've got a category for volunteering vacancies. You can also filter these by industry or occupations of interest and by using the more search options. And there is also an organisation called Voluntary Norfolk, and you've got an option to join their volunteer pool, which will give you exposure to lots of other volunteering opportunities. So if you want to talk to people and organizations and find stuff out, here are just some examples of questions you can ask. There's not usually such a thing as a stupid question. It is much more about, what are you offering? Is there anything in particular you're looking for? You might be actually quite curious about the recruitment process, what you need to do. They might want to be able to give you tips. You might be interested in how the volunteers are supported or whether they provide any training. Do they want a 1 or 2 page CV? So there's lots of types of questions you can ask. So have a think before you have those conversations, maybe about what it is you want to know. What is it you're still not sure about?
This gives you some more information on where you can find out more and to help you. So all of this information and the links you can find on the volunteering information pages on My Career Central. We have a range of volunteering for beginners videos. So this includes videos to help you with what is volunteering, where and how can I volunteer, what difference does it make, what are the benefits for the volunteer. So it can give you a really good starting point. The volunteering information pages have lots more information on where to find opportunities, what to think about, and more on other students' volunteering experiences. There's a whole range of different stories there that some of our students have shared with us, and also organisations. There's also Voluntary Norfolk have a Norfolk Volunteer Passport scheme, which might be of interest for you. This is a programme of core training around volunteering and includes things like equality, diversity and inclusion, health and safety, safeguarding adults and children, and there's a range of volunteering sessions that you can do. And then there are opportunities to help organisations with volunteering and different opportunities there. You'd have help with getting some references and an ID badge to show that you've been a part of that passport scheme. Again, you can find this information on the information pages on My Career Central, but also on the Voluntary Norfolk website as well. You can also sign up to receive email alerts of new volunteering opportunities on My Career Central, so you'd get emails directly to you with all the new vacancies that have recently been added. Hopefully this is interesting for you and gives you the things you need to get yourself started, but do come and talk to us. We're more than happy to help.